think that the government should decide what goes here? You think that the government should be here? Here? In your face? So what I wanted to get into in the second part was the language of the epidemic. Okay, so first, pandemic versus epidemic. To me, I think it's just a scare tactic where they decided which word sounded scarier, and they decided on pandemic because it just sounded like pan, which of course is from the devil. What is a pan? He is the G-O-A-T, the goat, greatest of all time, he thinks. And really he's just laughable. But the adversary, whoever you think this to be, he is the adversary of earth, has a language that is a narrative, that is an agenda, and part of the language I've recognized during this pandemic is this conglomerate language. So we know that dissolve and coagulate is maybe it's a motto of the Masons in Masonic rituals in society. It's basically like order from chaos. We're going to tear it all up first so that we can restructure it the way we like, so that we can have, whatever we want. And these are agendas that are in the world, whether you know it or not. Look for your signs and symbols, they're there. I'm not going to get into that here. I wanted to get into the language because they keep saying, we're all in this together. That's the main one that I hear everywhere, as if the elite and us are in the same boat or anywhere near the same ocean. We're not. Like these major doctors and people who are on, the elite side of scientism and all the stuff that exists out there to feed into the beast system, these people, they're nowhere near the same yacht. Like they're in some yacht, like somewhere out in the Seychelles. Like they are fine. We're in a little paddle boat. Like, oh yeah, we're all in the same boat together. Oh, that's so nice. Oh yeah, that's great. No, they have their pods, like in 2012, the movie, where you just go and you live forever as on Noah's Ark. They have that shit. They think that's going to save them. Anyway, we're all in this together. We're all in the same boat. These trying times. I've heard this one a lot. These uncertain times. Okay, this is a big one. In these uncertain times, I hear this like every 10 minutes on the radio, on commercials. I hear on the radio, like I said, I don't have TV. I do go to my mother's house at some points, and she has a TV. But I do hear these things, and people are starting to say them and repeat them, parrot them back to others, and this enforces the narrative. And that's all it is, it's a narrative. Okay? Because we discussed in part 1, which is right up here, that you're full of viruses and bacteria all the time. Your body is made to handle it. You're made to live on Earth. We've lived here for thousands of years, and we know how to handle a cold and a cough and the flu, and we know how to do this. Our immune system, if robust, can handle all of that. Okay, so go out and get your health robust. We talked about that in the first one. But these narratives enforce something in your mind that puts you into groupthink. Okay, it puts you into the bandwagon type of thinking, where, oh yeah, we are all in this together. Instead of it being communities band together, help each other, make sure nobody's being left alone too long, make sure, your neighbor kids, maybe their parents need a break from them, like go see if you can babysit. I don't hear any of these narratives because I know child abuse is up, molestation is up, spousal abuse is up, domestic abuse, crime, all those are up. Suicide's way up. Why aren't we hearing these narratives like, go check on your neighbor? Try having a swap meet. Craigslist has a 20% discount right now because of the pandemic. Have I heard any of that? No. But I think the main reason why that one exists, these uncertain times, is because these times are not uncertain, not in the least uncertain, because I read about it in a book that was written 2,000 years ago called Revelation. This is the beginning of the apocalypse, and you can quote me on that. People have been waking up for years, I think, especially since 2012 and Y2K, when everyone kind of had this groupthink moment where, oh my goodness, all the computers are going to crash, we all have to do something about this. And then again in 2012, when a lot of people were saying, oh my goodness, the world is just going to end, it's the calendar's resetting, we don't know what's going to happen. And we had this groupthink that was like, okay, we have to do something, and there was a lot of stuff going on around the 2012, some saying that it didn't exist, some saying that it was just new age crap, and some people thinking that the world was literally going to, end, the sun's going to explode, different things. It's a groupthink. It's a way to get you to move into the next phase of initiation. Okay? This is common with rituals. And mask wearing is common in rituals. And there's lots of studies on that and what different masks mean, what part of your face is being covered and what that means. And yes, I do believe that things can be Illuminati rituals, and the people that are involved in them don't even know. Because we saw it with NASA. I'm not a flat earther, I'm not a concave earther. I don't even know if I'm a round earther. I don't give a shit. We're here, we live here, it's lovely. But we saw this with NASA because we did not go to the moon in 1968. There's absolutely no way. The telemetry data was lost. The tape was recorded over. And the lunar module, we don't know what that really was. It looked like a tinfoil hat to me, honestly. That is the original tinfoil hat, is the NASA lunar module, guys. Meme it. But you can be a part of a ritual and not know. The people that were working in the control room that day, they didn't know that we weren't on the moon. They had worked for years to do this. They were excited. They were part of it. They were in the groupthink. They were not exposed to the 2 or 3 people, maybe 4 or 5 people that did know that this was a hoax. We're doing it so that we can just win this war, because it was the space race, and get it out of the way so that we can have victory. They just wanted Russia out of there. Russia can't do it first, so we're just going to fake it. And I know a lot of you know that. And if you don't, I'll refer you to a video here. Something funny happened on the way to the moon. There are many other videos that expound upon this thesis, that have gone and tried to obtain the telemetry data, that have tried to obtain, it was little Opie Taylor, little Ronnie Howard, who just wanted to make a movie about Apollo and watch the tapes, is why we found out that they were recorded over, because NASA told them, oh, we recorded over it. But that, to me, along with many other things that have been perpetrated in American and other world history, show that these people, you can be a part of something that you believe is real and it's not real. You can be directly working with something that you think is real and it's not real. It's not. And I think the coronavirus is real. I think it was engineered in a lab. Wuhan, Fort Detrick, there's a lot of implications as to who created it and what they were involved in. But these are not uncertain times. I just want to make that clear because I know you're hearing it a lot. You can read Revelation and find out what happens. It's not uncertain. It's not. It's already been told to you. And you get to decide the end. Your story. You get to write it. But you have to know. You have to know what's going down. You have to look at it logically, reasonably, and have all the information that is available to you. If you don't know what's in Revelation, how are you going to know if there's a sign? How are you going to know what that sign is? Because there have already been signs that are very clear. There's locusts right now all across the Horn of Africa and the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. That was the first wave. And there's going to be more. We've seen signs in the sky. There's been all kinds of eclipses and blood moons. Things happening on different Shabbats and different feasts in the sky that are amazingly beautiful. The story of the Bible is in the sky. The heroes of old, they're in the Bible too. But I get off track when I start thinking about these things because I like to think deeply about things. I like you to think deeply about things, and I want you to realize that we are still in the same real reality, the same physics as we have been all along. The sun has not changed. It still brings health and well-being to us. It does not cause cancer. It brings cancer out of us. But I just wanted to come here and just reassure you, it is still the real world. We still can love each other and hold each other dear, even if we look like this. Because if you're walking around looking like this, I want to help you. I want you to come out of it. I want you to snap out of it because this and this is so important. If you're going to mandate that I walk around like this for the rest of my life, or for the next 60 days, or for whatever it is, I do not consent to that. Because this is what they're saying you have to wear. Piece of cloth, which gets mildew almost immediately after like an hour. There's already stuff growing in there that could never grow if it wasn't kept moist all the time. And people will just hang up their mask like, oh, I'm just going to hang my mask right here, yeah. And then they'll put it back on. Hi. So, tell me, can you tell exactly what my face looks like below? Can you tell? This is a psyop. And if you can't catch on to that, it may mean your very freedom and your very life. This is your body. This is a part of your body. It's very important that that part of your body not be covered. Do you know why? That's right, you breathe through it! Woo! Ah! I'm going to do a dance for that. It's kind of important that you be able to breathe through it. And you think that the government should decide what goes here? You think that the government should be here? Here? In your face? Doing that? you're not an American. There's no way that you could be an American and think that our government here in America should decide what goes over your mouth and nose. How are you guys even okay with this? How are you guys okay with this at all? I understand if you don't know about what we talked about in part 1, which is that germ theory is a lie, and that it's all about your terrain and the medium in which things grow, which decides how they grow, if they grow, when they grow, everything. But to think that the United States government out of Washington, D.C., we know have not had term limits, have not had any kind of legislation regarding super PACs and lobbyists and any of the other unconstitutional things that are going on up there, not to mention the pedophilia. You think that these people are going to decide with your best interest at heart? I know you don't think this, America. I know you're not this stupid. I know that you know that these people are corrupt. We've seen the revolving door of the FDA and Monsanto. We've seen the Clinton body bags. We've seen the Epstein Island. We know these people are crazy corrupt. They're all related to each other. They're all crazy elite pedophiles. Like, we know that they're all like so corrupt. When we get to legislate, it goes over your breathing passages, and you think they have your best interest at heart? It's just so crazy. Okay, I gotta get off this tangent. We were talking about the language. So, another thing that I've been hearing is but guys, I got really worked up in that last bit. But we were talking about the narrative, and I really wanted to say to the adversary, as we know him on this channel as the devil, he does a lot of things with narratives and linguistics and language because he wants to be the logos. He's the unholy logos. He wants to be the word of the world. So he uses certain phrases and certain words to influence his acolytes. Okay? And then they repeat these to their acolytes. And so on, and so on. This happens, of course, in anything that is ritualistic in nature, because this is Antichrist. The rituals that people do to worship a deity, any kind of deity, if not in the Bible, we don't even have to do them if they are, like the feasts and tabernacles, Feast of Weeks, the different actual feast days and holidays that are in the Bible, such as Passover. We don't have to, now Passover we are supposed to do, but we don't have to do any of those because Christ is our rest. He is all of that. We don't have to do any of that anymore because Christ did it all at the cross. So anything that has ritualistic nature is Antichrist. Please give me a thumbs up if you agree. I know you're out there. I love you. So here in America right now and around the world, we have a satanic / Illuminati ritual taking place before our very eyes as the medical establishment takes over the government. That's scary, right? It's very scary. So We know that's what happened in Germany when the doctors basically brought in medical tyranny onto the citizens of Poland and Germany and began totally outlandish testing and ignoring the bodily sovereignty of their own citizens by doing invasive tests and awful mind control experiments and genetic stuff that just should never have been done on a human population was done because it was a medical tyranny. People believed what the doctors said. They believed that the doctors should be in control because, they have what's best for us at heart. So, if you think that Dr. Fauci is an honorable man, I want you to give me a thumbs down right now. You probably already did. Because I don't want you here. I want you to look at what he did in the 80s and early 90s in Africa and how he kept them from getting medications for AIDS for over a year while millions, actually it was hundreds of thousands in Africa died. Probably millions when you count the aggregate. But that is his legacy, Dr. Fauci. Why would he now be in a position of power after he killed hundreds of thousands of Africans? Does that sound right to you? Does that sound like somebody who should be deciding what goes over this part of your face? Or even not deciding, just suggesting. It's just a suggestion. And then, as we see, it becomes a mandate. And now, with people self-enforcing the mandate, and with mandates being enforced by private enterprise, such as stores and restaurants, we see that we don't need a police force. We'll police each other. And we'll make private business do the policing. The corporations are now the police. Oh! This is not far from being manifest. And this is what they want. Agenda 201 was not something they just did because they felt like doing something on a Tuesday. Hey, you know what? Powerful people, they get together and plan. So in September and October, when they were doing their event 201, and I'll have the links in the description, it's a tabletop exercise, I think took place in New Zealand, about, hey, what would happen if we had a coronavirus outbreak? Let's just play it out and see what would happen. When they played that out, and they saw what would happen, basically, corporations colluded with the government and decided what laws we were going to have and how they were going to enforce laws and what was going to happen with stores and, what would that look like if government and corporations just worked together. And we see it now, don't we? We see it. It's coming into fruition. So the things that they sat down and talked about and planned are now coming about. That doesn't sound like a theory to me. That sounds like something that's actually in action. A conspiracy action, a conspiracy reality. So next time you hear one of these phrases, just think the opposite. Like, see how it sounds. Because, number one, we're not all in this together. They're making us separate. They're making us separate by not being able to go out, by being quarantined, by being apart. You have to stand 6 feet apart, whatever. They're making us separate in reality and telling us that we're together. In the same boat. That's it. This is mind control. This is direct cognitive dissonance being put into your mind linguistically. Direct lies being told to you as facts. And it does something to your mind. The language is very important. The language that you hear and you read and you see and you talk in is very important. It's your word, okay? This is your reliability, your legacy. Your word is a big part of you. And the words that you take in that become part of your ego are just as important. And it's important the way we filter those. And that's why I'm here today, because I'm so sick of hearing these phrases that are just blatant lies. Just lies. So, remember, these are not uncertain times. God has already told us how it's going to end. You choose the ending. You choose whether you want to be a part of that ending or not that God tells you about. But He's telling you, wolves are going to come to you in sheep's clothing. They're not going to come to you as wolves. They're going to come wearing white. They're going to look like the good guy. And they're not. So, please think about this. Who do you think is the good guy in this? Who do you think is the bad guy? I've always thought that the bad guy is Big Pharma. They take remnants of the fertilizer industry. This is phosphates, or the phosphate industry. They take the leftovers from that, and there's nothing that they can do with it, and they put it into the water, okay? Because there's nowhere else you can put it. This is hexafluorosilic acid. Hexafluorosilic acid. It goes into our water, our drinking supply in the United States. I think Australia is the only other country that does that. But they have to put it somewhere. It's caustic. It's terrible. It can't go anywhere else. They do the same thing in the pharmaceutical industry, because the remnants of the petroleum industry are what's going into the drugs. They don't really want to cure you. If they wanted to cure you, they'd give you the cure, because there's a cure to all disease. Disease isn't real. Disease is in you all the time. You are the cure to the disease, and what you choose to do with your body, you are the cure. If you fix up your terrain and your medium so that it's impervious to disease, you won't have any. You're built to live here. You're made to live here. So, if you want to think about a narrative, check out some of my other videos on biblical narratives. And please give me a thumbs up. Come back to see me and talk nerdy to me anytime. Thanks. I hope you're having a great day.